There's an ancient saying in Great Ruins, don't go outside when it's dark. In Great Ruins, the disabled elders of Disabled Elderly Village picked up an infant by the riverside and named him Qin Mu, raising him up with blood and sweat. This day, as the night descended and the darkness shrouded Great Ruins, Qin Mu left home. Become a villain undulating in the spring breeze. That's what Blind told him. This is the rise of Qin Mu's road to becoming a villain. Tales of Herding Gods, Episode 1. Don't go outside when it's dark. This phrase had been circulating through Disabled Elderly Village for years, but exactly when it started doing so was never figured out. In spite of that, the truth of this phrase was never in doubt. In Disabled Elderly Village, Granny C started getting anxious as she watches the setting sun slowly hide behind the mountains. As the sun set, the last of its rays disappeared, suddenly leaving the entire world in absolute silence. No sound could be heard. The only thing that could be seen was the darkness that slowly approached from the west, swallowing every mountain, river, and tree in its path, before finally arriving at Disabled Elderly Village and engulfing it. 4 ancient stone statues had been erected at the 4 corners of Disabled Elderly Village. These statues were so old and mottled that even Granny Sai didn't know who sculpted them or when they had been constructed there. As darkness fell, the 4 statues emitted a faint glow in the darkness. Seeing the statues light up as usual, Granny C and the rest of the elderly in the village let out sighs of relief. The darkness outside began growing thicker and thicker, but with the light of the statues, Disabled Elderly Village was still considered safe. Suddenly, Granny C's ears twitched as she let out a cry of astonishment. "Everyone listen! A child is crying outside." Beside her, Old Ma shook his head and replied, "Impossible. You must be hearing things." "Hey, there really is a baby crying." Except for Deaf, the rest of the elderly looked at one another upon hearing the cries of a baby echo through the darkness from outside the village. How could a baby appear nearby when Disabled Elderly Village was located in such a remote area? "I'll go take a look." Granny C grew excited as she tiptoed, then ran to the side of one of the statues in the village. Old Ma immediately hurried over as well. "Have you gone mad, old woman C? Leaving the village when it's dark means death. The things in the dark are afraid of the stone statue. I won't die so quickly if I carry this statue out of the village." Granny C bent over as she attempted to carry the stone statue. However, since she was a hunchback, she was unable to carry it on her back. Old Ma shook his head. "Let me do it. I'll help you carry the statue." Another elderly person to the side walked over with a limp and said, "Old Ma, you won't be able to carry that stone statue for long with just that remaining arm of yours. With both my arms intact, it'll be better to let me do it." Old Ma just stared at him. "Can you still walk with your lame leg, damn cripple? I may only have one arm left, but there's more than enough strength in it." He stabilized his footing as he carried the impossibly heavy stone statue with his only arm. "Old woman say, let's go." "Stop calling me damned old woman. Cripple, mute, and the rest be extra vigilant. Since the village will be short one stone statue, be sure not to let the things in the darkness slip in." As Old Ma and Granny Sai walked out of Disabled Elderly Village, strange and unknown things floated through the darkness around them. However, as the stone statues shone with rays of light, all of them screeched strangely and retreated back into the darkness. After following the baby's cries for a few hundred steps, Old Ma and Granny C moved forward and arrived at a huge riverbank. This was where the baby's cries were coming from. The faint glow from the stone statue did not reach far enough, so both of them had to intently listen to the direction that the sound came from, moving upstream. After dozens of steps, the cry could be heard nearby. At the same time, Old Ma's only arm had nearly reached its limit. Granny Sai used her bright eyes and spotted a small fluorescent glow in the distance. The glow came from a basket which had stopped at the riverbank. It was also where the cries had been coming from. It really was a child. Granny Sai moved forward to pick the basket up, but she was startled upon realizing she couldn't. Under the basket was a pair of pale white hands had become bloated by the river water. These hands were propping up the basket and the child inside of it, pushing them all the way to the riverbed. "Don't worry, the child is safe now," Granny gently said to the woman under the water. As if the female corpse heard her words, her hands loosened their grasp. She disappeared into the darkness as she got swept away by the river. Granny Sai lifted the basket up, and inside of it was a baby swaddled in cloth. A jade pendant that gave off a fluorescent glow rested atop the clothing. Both the glow of the jade pendant and the glow of the stone statue were very similar, but the glow of the jade pendant was much weaker. It was this jade pendant that had protected the child in the basket from the encroachment of the things in the darkness. Since the glow of the jade pendant was weak, it was only able to protect the child and not the woman. It's a boy. Returning to disabled elderly village, all the villagers that gathered were old, weak, sick, and disabled. Granny Sai peeled away the swaddling cloth to take a look at the baby, and the remnants of her withered, scattered teeth broke out into a grin. There is finally a healthy person in our disabled elderly village. Cripple, who only had one leg remaining, surprisingly asked, "Are you planning on raising him, old woman Sai? We can't even take care of ourselves. I think we should give him away." Granny Sai erupted in anger. "I, an old woman, retrieved this child with my own strength. Why must I give him away?" The group of villagers became submissive and did not dare to oppose her. Carried on a stretcher, the village chief came over. He was slightly worse than the rest of the elderly. At least the others had limbs, even if they were lesser than those of a normal human. He, on the other hand, had no limbs at all. However, everyone was very respectful of him. Even the fiend-like Granny Sai did not dare to be impudent. "Since we're going to raise him, should we give him a name?" she asked. Village chief replied, "Old woman, do you see anything else in the basket?" Granny Sai went through the basket and shook her head. "There isn't anything in here other than this jade pendant. The word Qin is on the pendant. The jade does not have any impurities, and it also has a strange power. It definitely isn't an ordinary object. Could it be from a rich family? Should he be called Qin, or should his surname be Qin?" Village chief gave the question some thought before saying, "Let his surname be Qin, and let his name be Mu. Qin Mu. Once he grows up, let him be a herder. That should be enough for him to survive at least. Qin Mu." Granny C looked at the swaddled baby who wasn't afraid of her and was unexpectedly giggling without a care. The sound of a flute echoed across the riverbank. A herder boy sat on a cow, playing a melodious tune on his flute. The herder boy looked to be 11 to 12 years of age, and he had delicate features, such as his red lips and white teeth. With his shirt half open, a jade pendant dangled in front of his chest. This young boy was indeed the baby that Granny Sai had picked up from the riverbank 11 years ago. The elderly in the village had painstakingly raised the boy over the years. Granny C had found a cow so that, when Qin Mu was still a baby, he could have milk every day and live through the period in which babies would die young. However, no one knew where she got it from. Even though the villagers of disabled elderly village were all fiendish, all of them were very nice to Qin Mu. Granny C was a tailor, and during most days, Qin Mu would learn how to tailor from Granny Sai, how to gather and refine herbs from the apothecary, how to use leg skills from Grandpa Cripple, how to use echolocation from Grandpa Blind, and how to properly breathe and exhale from the limbless village chief. As a result, each day went by quickly. The cow had been his wet nurse since he was a baby. Granny C had planned to sell her away, but Qin Mu was reluctant. Therefore, the job of herding cows was left to him. Qin Mu frequently herded cows by the riverbank, content with the green mountains and bluish-white clouds. "Qin Mu! Qin Mu, save me!" Suddenly, the cow Qin Mu was sitting on started to speak, greatly shocking him before he jumped down from its back. He could only see the cow's eyes welling up with tears, and in a human tongue it said, "Qin Mu, you have consumed my milk since you were a baby. I can partially be considered your mother, so you need to save me." Qin Mu blinked, then asked, "How do I save you?" The cow said, "There's a sickle at your waist. Cut away my skin and you can save me from being trapped." Qin Mu hesitated. "Have you forgotten the grace in which I nurtured you?" the cow asked. Qin Mu raised his sickle and carefully cut the cow's skin. It was strange, but when the cow's skin had been peeled away, not a single drop of blood flowed out. In addition to that, the inside of the cow's skin was unexpectedly empty. No flesh or bone could be seen. Halfway through peeling the skin from the cow, a woman who appeared to be 20 to 30 years old rolled out, both legs still wrapped in those of the cow. Her skin and the cow's skin were connected, but her upper body had already been separated from the cow's skin. With her disheveled hair, the woman grabbed the sickle from the hands of the flabbergasted Qin Mu and cut the cow skin from her legs in 2 to 3 moves. Her courage turned into evil as she looked at Qin Mu and pointed the sickle at him, laughing coldly. "Vile little creature, I was turned into a cow because of you, and for 11 years I could only eat grass and even had to feed you milk. I had just given birth to my poor child before that witch plotted against me and turned me into a cow just to feed you milk. Now I'm finally free. I'm going to kill you. Then I'll slaughter every evil being in this village." Qin Mu was dumbfounded and had no idea what the lady from the cowskin was talking about. Just as the lady was about to slice him to death, she suddenly felt a chill from the center of her back. She looked down and saw the blade of a knife jutting out from her chest. "Moore, your grandpa apothecary wants you to go home for your medicines." The corpse of the lady collapsed to the floor. Behind her, pleasantly smiling at Qin Mu and holding a knife that dripped blood, was Grandpa Cripple from the village. "Grandpa Cripple?" Qin Mu's body went limp as he looked at the cowskin and the lady's corpse in a daze. "Go on back now." Cripple patted him on the shoulder and chuckled. As Qin Mu stumbled back to the village, he turned back to look and saw Cripple throwing the lady's corpse into the river. The impact of this scene was so great to him that he didn't even realize when he'd returned to the village. "Qin Mu, damn brat, what did I tell you? Don't go outside when it's dark." As night fell, the stone statues at the four corners of disabled elderly village automatically began to light up again. Granny C stopped Qin Mu, who was planning to sneak out of the village to check on the cowskin, and dragged him back. "Granny, why can't we go out when the sky goes dark?" Qin Mu asked, raising his head. "When the sky goes dark, some scary things will move around in the darkness. Going outside means certain death," Granny C solemnly said. "The stone statues in the village protect us, and the things in the darkness dare not enter the village." "Do the other villages have stone statues like this too?" Qin Mu asked out of curiosity. Granny C nodded her head. However, she kept looking outside of the village with a worried expression, mumbling to herself, "Cripple should be back soon. I really shouldn't have let Cripple go out. He only has one leg remaining." "Granny, something weird happened today." Qin Mu hesitated for a moment before telling Granny C about the woman that emerged from the cow's stomach. Granny C nonchalantly replied, "Are you talking about that woman? Cripple told me about that. He settled it properly. When you were weaned at 4 years old, I wanted to sell the cow away, but you didn't want me to. In the end, I let you care for it. You see what happened? I said you would definitely develop feelings for the cow if you drank its milk until you were 4 years old." Qin Mu blushed. 4 years of age was definitely too late to wean a child off of milk, but that wasn't the important thing here, right? "Granny, Grandpa Cripple killed that lady." "It was a good kill," Granny C laughed. "She made a bargain. She would have died 11 years ago. If it weren't for our need to nurse you, could she have lived up to today?" Qin Mu didn't know what she was talking about. Granny C glanced at him and said, "That woman was the wife of the Lord of Border Dragon City, which is located thousands of miles away. Border Dragon City Lord is lecherous, and that woman got jealous easily. The Border Dragon City Lord loves to go out womanizing and kidnapping maidens from respectable families. Every single time the Border Dragon City Lord defiled the purity of a maiden, his wife would send her men to beat that maiden to death. I originally snuck into Border Dragon City planning to assassinate her, but when I saw that she had just given birth to a child that was only 3 months old and saw that she had the milk you needed, I turned her into a cow. I didn't think that this woman would actually manage to break free from the seal, speak, and nearly harm you." Utterly amazed, Qin Mu cried out, "Granny, how do you turn a human into a cow?" Granny C chuckled, revealing her withered teeth. "You want to learn? I'll teach you. Oh, Cripple is back." Qin Mu looked over and saw Cripple limping back, gripping a crutch with one hand and carrying a beast over his back with another. Darkness came flooding toward the village like raging tide, causing Granny C a worriedly shout, "Move faster, damned Cripple! Faster! What's the rush?" Cripple continued walking toward the village at a steady pace, and at the exact moment he entered the village, the thick darkness flooded over the entire village. The beast on his back, a fierce, multicolored tiger, was still alive. The darkness brushed against its tail, and it suddenly howled in pain. Qin Mu rushed behind it to take a look and saw that the only thing left of the tiger's tail was bone. All of the tail's skin, fur, and flesh had disappeared, as if something had chewed everything off. Qin Mu gazed into the darkness outside the village. Curiosity piqued, unable to see anything in the pitch black. What is it that exists within the darkness? He thought. Granny C smiled as she excitedly pulled Qin Mu into the village. Stop looking out there and come here. Quickly, today is your big day. Village chief, old ma, everyone, get out here. A bonfire illuminated the village. As village chief was once again carried out on a stretcher, he solemnly asked, "Have the four spirits been found?" "They've all been found." One-armed old ma dragged out a huge jade-green snake that was dozens of yards long. The snake reeked of blood, but it was still alive. In spite of that, it couldn't move under old ma's one-handed grip. At the same time, Mute the blacksmith came over carrying a huge bird that was slightly bigger than him. Both of the bird's wings and legs were bound, and whenever it tried to struggle, sparks bounced from its feathers. The crackling noises that its struggling created were terrifying. Blind then carried out a giant tortoise that was much larger than a table. Only God knew how long this giant tortoise had lived, for even its shell had turned golden with age. All four limbs of the beast were hidden inside of its shell. A claw would sneakily stretch out from time to time, and one instance in which it did, Qin Mu saw steam coming from the bottom of it. The steam looked as if it were strong enough to lift the golden tortoise up and help it escape. The only reason the tortoise was unable to do so was the fact that Blind had a hook piercing its nose. The green dragon, the white tiger, the vermilion bird, and the black tortoise. Even though we haven't been able to find the blood of these four spirits, we can still refine some by using the green dragon snake, the iron bone tiger, the lightning bird, and the golden tortoise as replacements. They will be enough. Village chief gave the village's resident butcher a nod. Butcher grinned and used his hands and arms to move forward. He was a man who only had the upper half of his body left. Every part below his waist had been cleanly chopped off. 4 vats had been placed in front of the green dragon snake, iron bone tiger, lightning bird, and golden tortoise. Slicing into each of them a single time, Butcher let out the blood of these ferocious beasts. Soon enough, the fresh blood of these 4 beasts ran dry. "Apothecary!" Village chief called out. The village's apothecary stepped forward. He had no face. His nose, the skin on his face, and half of his lips seemed to have been sliced off by someone. He was the ugliest, scariest person in the village, but Qin Mu felt that Grandpa Apothecary was the nicest. Apothecary stepped forward and took out 4 peculiar red leaves. On each leaf was a snow-white insect egg. Apothecary dropped a leaf into every vat. In each one, a larva could be seen hatching from its egg, coming to rest on the leaf, and drinking the blood. The more blood these larvae drank, the bigger their bodies became. The blood in all 4 vats quickly disappeared, leaving behind a big fat worm in all 4 vats. Apothecary scattered some white, crystalline foam that resembled salt into each vat, and Qin Mu could actually see the 4 worms rapidly shrink. The sight made him click his tongue in wonder. A moment later, Apothecary picked the 4 worms up. Each of the worms was only the size of a person's palm. Taking out 4 white porcelain cups, he tightly squeezed one of the worms, causing it to squeak loudly. Crystal clear amber blood flowed from its mouth, filling up a cup. Doing the same thing to the other 3 bugs, Apothecary squeezed the blood from each one's stomach into the remaining cups, then placed all 4 in front of Qin Mu while shaking his head. Only this much spirit blood could be refined. They aren't the real spirit beasts after all. There are 7 great treasure vaults in the human body. Spirit embryo, 5 elements, 6 directions, 7 stars, celestial being, life and death, and divine bridge. These 7 great treasure vaults are inherently sealed, just like hidden treasures that are locked away. As a result, they are referred to as the 7 great divine treasures. The 7 great divine treasures are normally sealed and require a warrior to unseal it themselves, Village Chief said. His aura was intimidating as the light of the bonfire's blaze flickered across his face. Walls are what stand in the way of a warrior trying to awaken their divine treasures. There is one for each treasure: the spirit embryo wall, the 5 elements wall, the 6 directions wall, the 7 stars wall, the celestial being wall, the life and death wall, and the divine bridge wall. The process of breaking through these 7 walls is called wall break. Grandpa Ma gently caressed Qin Mu's head with his remaining hand and smiled. It is impossible for a person to cultivate if a wall can't be broken. Some people are blessed by the heavens. When such a person is born, their spirit embryo wall will have already been broken, naturally unsealing their spirit embryo divine treasure. This kind of constitution is called a spirit body, gifted by the heavens as the perfect seedling for cultivation. People with a spirit body have talent superior to that of normal people, allowing them to cultivate twice as fast. There are 4 elements for spirit embryo, which means that there are also 4 kinds of spirit bodies: the green dragon spirit body, the white tiger spirit body, the vermilion bird spirit body, and the black tortoise spirit body. The blood of these 4 spirits is needed in order to check if one possesses a spirit body. If you possess a green dragon spirit body, you will awaken the chi of the green dragon after drinking green dragon spirit blood, just like Old Ma, apothecary said. One-armed Old Ma unbuttoned his shirt and took it off, standing topless in front of Qin Mu. He turned his back to Qin Mu before unleashing a deep shout. Qin Mu immediately saw a green key emerge from Old Ma's back. From his tailbone to the back of his head, the green key slowly formed a green dragon. As the scales, beard, and hair of the dragon appeared, a dragon claw extended Old Ma's only arm, while another 2 dragon claws coiled around his legs. This is a green dragon spirit body. One-armed Old Ma put his shirt back on. Old Woman C has a white tiger spirit body. Granny C rolled her eyes and said, "I won't take off my clothes and let you old dogs take advantage of me. I shall show Qin Mu by shaping my chi." Granny C's body shook slightly as the indistinct figure of a ferocious white tiger appeared behind her, a faint, bestial roar resonating from it. Everyone in the village has a spirit body. Back in the day, we were glorious. Now, however, we're all just a bunch of old disabled elderly. Granny C smiled. There's nothing that we, the disabled elderly, can give you. These 4 cups of blood from 4 different spirits are the key to awakening a spirit body. Like with a green dragon spirit body, if you have a white tiger spirit body, drinking white tiger spirit blood would awaken the chi of the white tiger within your spirit embryo. If you have a vermilion bird spirit body, vermilion bird spirit blood would awaken the chi of the vermilion bird within your spirit embryo. The same goes for a black tortoise spirit body. Now drink! Village chief, Granny Sai, and everyone else looked at Qin Mu, revealing expressions of anticipation. Qin Mu's heart pumped wildly. Even though he had drunk countless strange concoctions while learning how to gather and refine herbs from apothecary, it had never been this strange. Qin Mu lifted one of the porcelain cups. Since the cup held vermilion bird spirit blood, the sanguine liquid was blistering hot. He drank all of it in one shot and felt a burning sensation spread from his throat to his limbs and then his bones. He felt a raging blaze inside of his body, one that was so hot his blood seemed to be boiling. After a moment, the burning feeling faded. "Mute, does he have a vermilion bird spirit body?" Village chief asked. Mute the blacksmith shook his head. "Continue, Qin Mu," Village chief said. Qin Mu took the second white porcelain cup that contained white tiger's spirit blood. Drinking it felt like drinking molten iron-filled slag, tasted like copper, and stung his mouth. He felt that same stinging sensation throughout his body, which then faded soon after. "He doesn't have a white tiger spirit body." Granny C shook her head in slight disappointment. "Qin Mu, the 3rd cup," Village chief said solemnly. Qin Mu drank from the 3rd cup. It contained green dragon spirit blood that had been refined from the huge green snake. This cup of spirit blood made him feel as if the blood in his muscles had begun to swell, uncomfortably squeezing his organs. However, this bloated feeling quickly faded as well. Old Ma shook his head with a disappointed look on his face. "He doesn't have a green dragon spirit body. In that case, he must have a black tortoise spirit body." Apothecary revealed a rare smile, looking even more sinister than usual. Qin Mu drank the last cup that was full of black tortoise spirit blood. His body became as light as a feather as he drank it. It was like he was immersed in the water of a river. However, like before, the feeling quickly vanished. "He doesn't have a black tortoise spirit body." Apothecary shook his head. The villagers around the bonfire became silent. Then Butcher said, "If that's the case, he's just an ordinary human." Granny C suddenly began to cry, struggling to speak. "All of us are old and disabled. Qin Mu won't be able to continue living if we die. It's so dangerous here. He wouldn't survive for even a day." Qin Mu grabbed Granny C's hand and gently said, "Don't cry, Granny. You and all the grandpas are good people. Nobody will die." "Good people?" Old Ma laughed at himself. We were all forced to retreat to the Great Ruins, struggling to live at death's doorstep. The Great Ruins are too dangerous, so it'll definitely be difficult for Mu to survive without us. We should send him out of the Great Ruins where it's much safer. We will be discovered and killed if we send him out. Since he is associated with us, he would die as well, Butcher said coldly. Disabled elderly village went silent once again. Suddenly, village chief spoke. Good. Confused, Granny Sai asked, What's good about this? Village chief smiled. I'm referring to his constitution. It's a good... No, it's a great seedling. Butcher, apothecary, and the rest of the villagers gave him blank stares, unable to understand why Qin Mu's constitution was great. Village chief smiled and explained, My guess is that Moer has another type of constitution, one that combines the strengths of the 4 great constitutions, an overlord body. An overlord body? Granny Sai and the rest wore skeptical looks. All of them were experienced, knowledgeable people, but they had never heard of an overlord body before. Yes, an overlord body, village chief grinned. It's difficult for normal spirit blood to awaken an overlord body. Blood from the 4 great spirit beasts must be collected for the overlord body to show itself. None of the 4 great spirit beasts remain in the Great Ruins, but it shouldn't be too hard to find their descendants. Continue capturing beasts and refining their blood. Once Qin Mu drinks enough spirit blood, his overlord body will awaken naturally. Everyone trusted village chief, so all of the disabled elderly in the village were overjoyed to hear him say all of this. Tomorrow I'll go with Cripple to catch a tiger. Rest early, Mu. You'll still have to drink more spirit blood tomorrow. Once everyone dispersed, Apothecary and Mute brought village chief back to his room. After Mute left, Apothecary remained in the room and softly said, The overlord body doesn't exist. Village chief nodded. I said that without thinking. However, if I hadn't said anything, it would have been hard for everyone else to continue living. Apothecary was at a loss for words. Everyone in disabled elderly village had their own history, but they were all forced to move to the Great Ruins. Struggling to survive, all of their sorrows weighed heavily upon them. Qin Mu was partially the reason why everyone could continue living up to this point. It was the appearance of this healthy little baby that had cleansed the sorrow from everyone's hearts. As they raised Qin Mu, they began to view this little boy as their most precious family member. It was Qin Mu that held the fragile hearts of the people in disabled elderly village together. If the villagers knew that Qin Mu only had an ordinary body and wouldn't be able to survive in the Great Ruins by himself, all of them might actually lose control and do the unthinkable. Apothecary was expressionless. You can't hide the truth from them forever. All of us will die of old age someday and leave Qin Mu behind. That's why we'll never tell him that the overlord body doesn't exist. Keep it a secret from him for eternity, village chief said solemnly. Let him believe that he has the one and only overlord body. Apothecary was stunned as he examined village chief's face. Under the dim light from the oil lamp, village chief's face seemed to be particularly bewitching as he smiled. I want to see if an ordinary person with unparalleled faith can achieve something that even we, people with spirit bodies, can't. Apothecary gave him a blank stare. Mortal body to overlord body. Village chief nodded deeply. As long as there's faith, a mortal body will become an overlord body. That wraps up the content for today's episode. Don't forget to hit like and subscribe to the channel to get notifications for the next episode. For now, goodbye, and see you next time.